I am Angela
That's what I love.
Mr. Mallard. Join me as always, Mr. Chief of Morale himself, Bud Copeland. Bud, how are you this evening before we get
So the point being is, good golfers are a fucking dime a dozen, and we saw it in full swing with the line of demarcation between.
Are you ready, Bud? Are you ready for the players? Are you ready to make money? Are you ready to try to beat me?
I didn't do my homework this week.
And welcome in, everybody. Tuesday night here on Divots and Pivots. I am Andrew LeDuc, a.k.a. Mr. Mallard, bringing the bang this week for a big episode of lots of fun topics that I think might get under some people's skin in the chat, hopefully. So if you're there, hit the chat. Let us know how you feel. We would love to talk back and forth. But, Bud, I see you in a different background, enjoying some Florida weather. How are you this week, this weekend, whatever?
It's muggy. It's already muggy. Yeah. Now I get freaking lights in my face. Things are good. Back-to-back weeks picking the champ. Yeah. Doing all right. We're trending in all places. And another week with another fancy jacket on the line. The tartan, the tartan jacket. I just like saying tartan. The Scottish tartan jacket, first won by Ben Hogan. This is a tournament associated with Ben Hogan, Colonial, the whole bit. So that's part of the fun this week. But not so fast, my friend. PGA Champ. What is your favorite thing you're taking away from this week in the PGA Championship?
God, it's hard to pick because just when you thought it couldn't get any better, 15 happened for Michael Block. This week was just like the perfect major weekend for the PGA, and I'll say it for golf. Like Brooks Koepka winning, I'm sorry, that's a win for Brooks. That's a win for golf. That ain't no win for Liv. It's a win for Brooks that he has been fighting for a few years now. We talked about his episode on Full Swing, how we felt for the guy, how we saw that he was struggling, and how we wanted him to do well again. And here he comes. He crosses that line, jumps over that hurdle, and he's back. So you can't be mad at that. But it's a win for Brooks. And then obviously Michael Block. I mean, we could talk the entire show just on Michael Block. We could talk the entire show just on Brooks Koepka. There's so much. Michael Block's going to be at Colonial this week, though. How cool is that?
Yeah, I think it's dope. I think it's great. Brooks will not, because he does still play for on the Live Tour. But unless you weren't paying attention, you already knew that. I loved seeing Jenna. I loved seeing his baby mama and her little chirp on social media when people are like, "Where were you? Why weren't you there?" She put out a little video, making room on the trophy case. I thought that was cool.
She put out a few videos I saw of there, so she was.
Well, I bet you did.
She was trying to stay active over there.
I agree. It was fun for Brooks. Glad to have him back in the winner's circle. And the Michael Block thing. After he's also going to be at the RBC Canadian Open. I don't know if the story is going to carry that that much further ahead too. But it was cool. It was a lot of fun. 15 was a magic number for him. Obviously, he gets into next year's PGA with that as well. He's getting the attention from some PGA Tour events. That's fun. But I was more enthralled with Brooksy winning again, just not just because I picked him, but like you said, the Full Swing thing, and also Full Swing was on site again, so we're going to get to see what this looked like and have it come full circle and get to see if there was any of this Michael Block stuff that the cameras didn't already catch. I don't know.
There's gotta be.
This guy, everything from being on the walk and talk with Scott Van Pelt on Thursday to making the cut to then the ace, the whole bit. It's pretty cool, and he's a gracious guy, so it's a fun story to root for. Saying that we don't need a Michael Block movie, I will remind you, we did a baseball movie about a substitute teacher / pitcher and Rennie, all that kind of crap. I mean,
didn't we have the Michael Block movie? Cup. I was gonna say it's Tin Cup. That is the Michael Block movie, just more recent.
Yes, and
in a different way. Obviously, different outcomes.
That's true.
But
I want to be contrarian and push back on the analogy because Tin Cup's one of my favorite movies of all time.
it's such a good
I know,
one.
big going out on a limb there saying that. It's a golf guy.
Yeah.
But I want to play the hole where they shot the final scene. I guess you can play that course, and they have a little plaque in the center of the fairway where Roy McIlroy hit his shots. And if you're not familiar with Tin Cup, then I don't think you would actually be tuning into this at the moment. So
that's probably
never
fair.
mind.
Sorry, go ahead, finish it.
No, I was just gonna say. So that was the PGA was a lot of fun. I think it's gonna continue to get some more recognition for being a major. I think we like to call it, joke about it being the little step brother or whatever analogy you want to use in the major world. But the field was strong, and I mean, as long as big names keep winning, then I think you can't make an argument for another golf tournament taking that place.
Field was strong. The course played at like an old school U.S. Open course, where it was just eating guys alive out there. But you know what? It's fun to watch. You don't want to see that every week because every now and then you do want to see some low numbers. You want to see some scoring and out there. But I love when the golf is like that because anybody can do anything at any time. Just love that.
Put it back in the U.S. Open, Rhoda.
Yeah. So here's what I want to do because I want to give both Michael Block and Brooks Koepka those storylines kind of their own space tonight because we can attack them both from different angles.
Love angles.
Do you want to start Brooks or do you want to start Block? What do you think?
Always bet on Block.
Okay, let's start Michael Block. If you're under a rock and didn't know what the hell happened this weekend, and we've already touched on this, Michael Block, just an amazing story. And you know what? Even the clips afterwards, like watching, did you see the clip of him and his caddy sitting at the little banquet afterwards, and his caddy sitting there, and I wish I knew his name. Sorry for not, but sitting there doing the math on how much money he just made because of it all on his phone. You see him show it to Michael Block, and he just like drops what he's doing and just gives him like a high five right in the middle of whoever's giving whatever speech. Like it's just so wholesome. And all of his reactions to like when he found out that he was playing with Rory and like when he didn't even know that his shot on 15 went in the hole. Like it was just so genuine. Yeah. And I loved it. Like, and that's why I think I texted you at some point. I said, you know what? Brooks may have won, and I love that Brooks won, but you're going to hear this is a win for Liv. This is a win for Liv. I'm sorry, Brooks won, and somehow the biggest story out of the weekend seems to be Michael Block.
I think unless Tiger Woods wins this week, anybody gets kind of overshadowed a little bit by Michael Block. Yeah. The Liv angle wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't flashed or brought up as much. I think it was brought up the amount that it needed to be. And Brooks he was gracious with his answer, talking about like, yeah, of course it is. We do good work over there, or like, of course we're proud of the tour, but I'm not thinking about anything other than me at a major championship. Trying to really, well, also because why spit in the face of these majors? You just went and won one, and it doesn't. And he's got a point there with it. It's like. It doesn't mean shit for Liv or PGA Tour. These tournaments are supposed to stand aside and just kind of take little snapshots throughout the year of golf's greatest. The Michael Block party will roll on. I love
that. Why haven't I heard that yet? Michael Block party. I love that. Jesus.
It's like they were tripping over each other to see who could say it first. Block party. There's a block party in Rochester. Send the cops. The block party's begun. But
there was the roar he got on one to start the fourth round.
Oh, I know. No. I'm not saying there wasn't. I was just.
Oh no, I know you're not. But I'm just saying, like it was amazing. Like people were there. I'm sorry, people were following that group for Block. They weren't really following for Rory.
We should reach out to Cutter and find out if he knows this guy because the caddy was just that. He's a full-time looper at Pebble Beach.
Yep. Yeah, so
Cutter knows him.
We should reach out to him and see if he knows him, just to see what he
probably should have done it before I was sitting on here live.
Yeah.
It would have been a great idea.
Conversation.
Would have been a great idea.
Damn it! That's right. We got time. But yeah,
no, I agree. I agree. What I loved about it was seeing Rory's reaction. Rory was giddy and fanboying over it, and like he likes the good story too. So the game's bigger than tours. I think there's something to be said about that, but at the same time. the PGA Tour grew up in the same way that modern major golf grew up, parallel to one another and kind of intertwined. So I think it was a big win for the PGA Tour and for the PGA in general. And not because a PGA Tour player won, but because it was like, yeah, look at the strength of this field. Look at this tournament. And this is what we have. This is what we built. And, every time we see one of these, okay, so now we've done it. Liv won a major. And
we knew it was going to happen at some point.
Mine's more likely to be a cell block party at this point in life, but thanks for checking in. But that's the thing is it's died. It's dead.
Yeah.
Lives over. Golf's not gonna become this, Formula One style team sport because the sport itself is so individualistic in nature, and we already have team competition to compare it to.
And we saw the power of an individual's story this weekend. Like when we're talking about Michael Block, that's what it was. It wasn't. Yeah, you know what? He played great. He went out there, shot 3 rounds of even par, and then 1 over on the last. He played fantastic, especially given the course and the conditions. But people weren't watching because of his golf; they were watching because of the story, the overall story. His golf was part of that. But you're right; the individual aspect of golf is what I have always said makes it relatable and accessible as for fans to watch. And that's why I still prefer the PGA. It's one of the reasons why I still prefer the PGA over the Liv in the whole long run. It's never been a question about the Liv's guys' talent or anything like that. They're talented golfers still. We've said it even about guys on the Corn Ferry Tour. In the end, there's still professional golfers out there that are shooting, great scores, playing great golf. It's just there's a lot of them. There's great golfers who play on Liv.
That's never been in doubt. It's not. We've said it's not the quality. It's not the quality of your players. It's the quality that they think they brought with them from the tour. It's like don't let your brightness mistaken for shine. And since we brought up Liv, Brooksy, I think we like him for the same reason we liked the Michael Block story. It was genuine and pure. That was genuine and pure. Comeback. It's, we got to see in full swing how close he was to giving it up. He didn't hide anything this week. He didn't try to shy away from it. And he also didn't try to lean on it and be like, in your face,
No, not
boom,
at all.
I can still do it. He was he was gracious as a winner.
He didn't talk much at all. Really.
No, and I loved what he was saying about, like, I know I come across as this like super heavy guy because I'm just focused and competitive when I'm out there. But he's like, anybody will tell you I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty transparent. I loved seeing, the Wanamaker making a tour at the Florida Panthers game, and he's sitting there chugging out of it. I think that's cool. I think Brooks is good for golf. I think anybody who won that would have had his own victory tour. It might not have been as big of a splash. And I think for damn sure him and Bryson will come back in a couple of years.
Yeah. Like we said, once the 5-year contracts are up, that's when I really that's when I'm most interested to see what happens at that point.
I don't think DJ comes back. I think he continues to play in the majors. But as far as like week in, week out, schlepping around the world, I don't think so. That said, they're trending towards 70 players, no cuts. And who knows? Maybe they'll do that.
And did you see Sergio playing in the U.S. Open qualifiers this week? He went.
No,
he was. I forget where it was, but he played in one this week. He went low, shot like 66. I think he's
qualified.
I think he's qualified now.
Yeah.
I didn't see the whole end of the story to see if he qualified, or if the qualified was even over yet. But I know he was in
they go on to sectionals or whatever. There's like sectionals and regionals, or regionals and sectional. This was local qualifying, then they go into sectional.
So he's moving on. But it brings up what's curious now about
very curious.
So 2 things here. Brooks, in my opinion, he looked calm and happy, almost to be back around like some of his guys again. And you saw the reaction as Rory was leaving the clubhouse, and the embrace, the handshake, the embrace they had, the appreciation Rory showed for Brooks. Like, it just once again proved to everyone out there that is trying to push divide. There's no divide here. Like, there might be from the social media, from the fan standpoint, but from the players' standpoint, it seems like they're starting to move past that. and they're just thinking about golf, and they can still respect each other and still play together and show that love. And Brooks even said, like, I'll see you later. Like,
yeah, I'll call you later, buddy.
It was a great little shot. It was, and in that moment, that's what I think the PGA needed out of Rory too, to kind of show that, like, that's what golf needed. And Rory's been good at doing what golf needs, it seems like, when it comes to the public eye. But what's interesting now with Brooks is the Ryder Cup is very much on the table. He shot up to second in Ryder Cup points.
Potentially.
Well, he is there now, but obviously he's
saying.
only got the 2 more majors that he's going to be able to gain points from. So there's going to be some shuffling because there's 8 guys pretty much within like 100 points, I think, or something.
Does Brandel Chambly need to just grow up?
Yes. Well, so look. I was thinking about this. Heading back
in
here
the shower
for the show. No. Heading back in.
You think about it. What do you think about the shower?
No. But look. Okay, so fine. Yeah. Well, let's get into, because the Ryder Cup does have to do with what's been going on the Golf Channel and social media all day. People going off. Here's how I view it. Here's what we need to remember. Chambly, all of them. Chambly. Sorry, I just messed up his name. The entire Golf Channel staff. They work for NBC, which is owned by Comcast. The PGA is one of their biggest contracts. I'm sorry, but they have to appease what they want to a point. I'm not necessarily saying that the PGA is sending memos to the NBC team telling them exactly what to say, but I think there's probably an air in the internal side of their network that just kind of knows, like, let's not ruffle
communicate
the feathers here anymore.
And if it's smart tactics, somebody's going to figure it out. If it's going to get clicks or likes.
Yeah.
But I think your point is valid. It's getting almost palpable and tangible that there's this collusion feeling going on, and maybe it's time that we just drop it.
So yes, we should just drop it for one, but to all the people who were getting like so mad today about and like going off about the Golf Channel and them, the host specifically, turn it off. If you don't like it, you know what the best thing about this is that
Tuesday morning Golf Central headlines are getting you worked up to the point where you are going in public and making a display about it. I agree. You just save yourself time and energy. And
because here's the thing. Personally, whenever the coverage is on the Golf Channel, I don't tend to like it, not because of the people who were talking about it on the show at the time. I just don't think the Golf Channel shows enough of the action as when they are airing a tournament. I think there's a lot of back and forth of all these little, clips and videos and conversations, whatever. So that's why I don't choose to watch it as my main way to take it in. But the other best thing that we get now, because Comcast, who owns NBC, also owns ESPN, is that we have, especially this week, it was on ESPN. It was on ESPN Plus.
Oh, it was on sunrise to sunset and then some.
Yeah.
Great.
So the point I'm trying to make is that if you don't like the Golf Channel or what they're saying and doing and how they're covering the Golf Channel, you have options. Don't put yourself through the torture of not enjoying something and then just so you can go out and bitch about it. Just go watch it in one of the other 5 different ways you can watch it. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, if you don't like what someone is saying on Fox News, what do? You probably switch it to CNN or ABC or whatever, CBS, and that's that. You find what works for you. Just find what works for you instead of bitching about it.
Did you say people are also getting a little fired up? Because this is the part I didn't see. I did hear, obviously, I had made the allusion to Brandel Chambly and his little interaction with Brad Faxon, where Faxon's like, they're not playing for money. Like, this isn't this
very awkward exchange.
Well, it was awkward because it almost felt like they were trying to force a moment. And I don't think there's a moment to be had. Brad made a good point, and everybody knows how Brandel feels. And they just let it hang out there for dead air. Why? So dipshits like us will talk about it afterwards. The thing about playing for your country and not your tour, or okay, sure, whatever. I just think that the high and mightiness of those who are still holding on to this, and using words like sports washing. They're participating in sports washing.
Yeah.
Careful what you do with 6 degrees of Kevin's bacon and all the money talk. Do you know where, do you know which sweatshop, they had kids sewing together your outfit in?
Yeah, we can go back to that argument with every example that someone brings up about it.
Everything. It's just fucking tiresome.
And with the news again, like that's the perfect analogy, like to kind of compare right now. If you take in the news every day, no matter what channel, I don't care, liberal, conservative,
well, if it bleeds, whatever, it bleeds, right?
Well, exactly, but they're all doing the same thing. I don't care what side of the aisle the news channel prefers. You're watching it because it riles something up in you, and it's just what it is now. Just stop bitching about it. Watch what you like. Take it in how you like. And then shut the fuck up. That's how I feel.
I didn't know this until I saw that. I guess Jim Nantz threw a little subtle shade at Liv when they were introducing Dustin Johnson, because he said, I didn't realize that CW cut away from the coverage during their.
Did they?
Yeah, with like 4 holes left or 3 holes left. They just.
Oh my god! They just had to get Dawson in.
And Jim Nantz, when he introduced. Well, you may or may not have had a chance to see it, but Dustin Johnson won last week. It's like, whoa. But
if that's how he said it, I almost take that as Jim Nantz. Almost no, he's not taking a shot at the players there. He's not really even taking a shot at Liv directly to like knock Liv down. It felt more like he was taking a shot at
cutting away from live sports, period. The thought of not showing the end of a competition.
Like he probably feels for the players because they got cut off, and like that feels more to me like Jim Nantz, who has been around the game and other games for so long, just respecting what is going on in the golf world.
I got to take this call. Hello.
Is it?
Hi.
Okay, Bud's on the phone live. Maybe it's Cutter, who knows? Or maybe it's Michael Block directly. We'll find out. I doubt it. Just kidding. But this is the perfect time to update you on how we did this past week, because we had a close one this week. Even though, Bud had the winner in Brooks in his lineup, I did not. But I got I think it was a 32-point win or 34-point win over Bud this week on DFS. But that was with me having a 5 of 6 lineup, and he had a 3 of 6. So the fact that he kept it that close is impressive. So I believe my season lead is now up to 54 points. Still nice and close. Still going to carry it through, and this hopefully will be a nail biter come end of the year. Was that the president, sir?
This DK points update's brought to you by Bud's roommate. No, I thought she might not have remembered. It's 2:00. It's 8:00 on Tuesday. Thanks for calling. You know exactly where I am. No, but like you had mentioned before, I'm out of town. Those of you listening, the new background, I'm on the road right now. So Tubby time had just ended, and gosh, when Koopa Troopa needs to say goodnight, we got to get that man on the phone. So no, it wasn't the president. It was just my boss.
Good man, good dad.
I appreciate all those things. So what I missed? We were just discussing the DK points. You did,
yeah.
You won again. It's still kind of close.
But what I was saying is that it was impressive that I only won by like 34 points. I think it was, considering you had 3 guys miss the cut and I only had 1.
That's so
the fact that you were able to keep it that close with 3 guys compared to my 5, that was fantastic, because I think that my season lead is now only at 54.
It's just a number. No matter how small the number, it still packs a punch. That's what she said.
And you know what? Before we get into DFS, speaking of number, I played golf this weekend, and I was texting you, and I was excited. Front 9, 51. There was still a little bit of a rust. Had a couple lost balls. But then that back 9 shot 44. Was super happy with it. Was striping the ball off the tee all day long. I think it had 1 duff tee shot, which was a snap hook into the woods. But other than that, I wasn't hitting it terribly long, but they were going straight.
Speaking of terribly long, how long did that round end up being? I remember you telling.
Oh my lord, 5 hours, I think.
And you know what? I can swallow.
So it's the back 9 picked up because it was
people probably dropped off.
Yeah, and people dropped off.
It's twilight. Nobody's trying to squeeze in the back after that pace on the front.
But it took us like 3.5 hours to finish the front 9. It was unreal.
There's got to be that's when you told me that pace and you were like, we've played 2 holes in 40 minutes. That's not even fun.
Yeah. So the issue was they were sending tee times off every 5 minutes, and that's just too freaking close.
Yeah.
They were cramming everybody in.
That's like slumlord kind of living. You can't.
Yeah,
that's not
so
sustainable.
it was a mess out there. And
you know what? For the sake, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We won't name the establishment here.
No, I won't do that. I won't do that. But what made it even worse was by the time we made the turn to start the back nine, they closed the bar. There was no more beer cart girl. We never even saw the beer cart girl once on the front nine. She never found us. We never saw her. So back nine rolls around. We're just hanging out dry. Just freaking waiting. just wanting to play some damn
beer,
golf, man.
And shockingly, your score improved. Can't imagine if there's a correlation there.
Let
me guess, you play a little bit better once you have a beer or two and you loosen you up.
So I don't know if it's the drinks or the fact that I just get warmed up after like 5-6 holes and I get looser because of that. But I do notice that there is a line where then maybe around the 13th, 14th hole, if I do continue drinking, that's when the wheels start to come off a little bit. If I've had a few already and I hit that point where I'm a little too loose. So that didn't happen. I was able to hold it all together. I think I had 3 pars in the back nine, so that was a fantastic feeling.
I made an eagle and I think 2 birdies on Saturday, so hopefully something will cash in for the Skins. Did not play great on the back nine. Didn't completely fall apart, but definitely not strong after turning in 1 under. I think I shot like 4 or 5 over on the back nine alone. It was just got to figure something out heading before the next qualifier here in a couple weeks.
I was just gonna say, when is it?
June 6th, Tuesday, June 6th, Andover Country Club. I tee off at like 8:10 in the morning, which I'm happy about. I enjoy getting out early. There's something about not having to wait around all day and be anxious for your tee time. Yep. So tune in for updates on that. We're going to continue the Bud Redemption Tour this summer and try to.
Yes, we are. We're going to watch it from my angle. Get the updates.
You and your angles.
Me and my angles. Speaking of angles, let's get a quick angle here on Underdog Fantasy before we get into our DFS picks this week for the Charles Schwab Challenge at the Colonial. So stick around. We'll be right back after this quick commercial.
Underdog Fantasy is here to save your post-fantasy football season blues. The easiest place to play and win with the Underdog Fantasy app. Get up to 20 times your money in a single night with our Pick'em contests. Grab some insurance when setting your picks and win even when one pick fails. Go online now and use the promo code DIVPIV to double your deposit up to $100. Sit Gingerbread, good girl.
What a good girl Gingerbread is, huh?
I want Gingerbread on the show.
Joining us every week. Let's get into it, though, because, like we said, we have just been, I don't want to jinx it, but fuck, we've been doing good, man, on our picks. We've been riding this wave for a few weeks now, and it's been fun.
I've shot up 8 spots in the other league. I'm feeling good. When the stakes are highest, that's when you and I shine. Everybody knows that about divots and pivots. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to, act like I know what I'm doing here. Watching videos over of Mike Block getting dapped up by like Max Homa and Annika Sorenstam.
Yeah. Did you see? He said he had like
3,000 texts. One of them's from Michael Jordan.
Yeah. He said he still can't find it, but he's looking for it. But
I also saw where he apparently got offered $50,000 for the 7-iron that he hit the hole in one with, which really? I don't. Yeah, and I
just keep it.
At this point, after cashing that kind of paycheck, had he shot like 85 on the last day and not made as much money or gotten these kind of invites, I could see trying to maybe cash in and maximize the experience. But I think that's a pretty dope thing to have.
Well, I love the stat that I forget the woman reporter who gave it to him said it was like 16, was it 1,600 or 1,062 lessons it would have taken for him to
1,600 and something like that.
That's yeah. So it was like 1,600. It would take him 1,600 lessons to earn the money he earned this weekend at the PGA. So good for him. And we can't wait to see him next week. This week, we can't wait to see him next year. But let's get into it because unfortunately, I will not be playing any Michael Block this week in DFS just because why? But before we get into great story, but I'm not trying to make money off the guy. But before we get into the nitty gritty of the stats and who we're liking and whatnot, I have one quick question for you because this is we talk about the winner's hangover, which is about every tournament. a major is different. There's even more of a hangover for the winner coming out of it. Do you think there is also a hangover for a guy who was also in the final group, finishes second, and still is also grinding and doesn't pull it out? Like, do you think a guy, and I'm asking this because Victor Hovland, who was in that final pairing and he just wasn't able to put it together last round, do you think finishing second in that manner drains that guy as well? Because Victor Hovland came out number 1 on my model this week. And I had that thought in the back of my head, where is this going to be now kind of a slightly down week for him because of the adversity he just went through on the weekend of a major?
Not if you're Victor Hovland. I hear what you're saying. I think everybody gets drained from the major. The whole major hangover. I am a believer in that theory, but I don't think it extends down the leaderboard. On the contrary, I think maybe there's a little more motivation, having come that close to kind of remind yourself that you can do it. Unless you're Brooks Koepka, which, being a live guy, he's not playing this week, but he's also famous for just phoning it in anything that's not a major. So I hear what you're saying there. It's interesting that that's who your model spits out at the top. I think my model came out pretty chalky, which I'm not too disappointed in, because there's some value inside the top. There's some value inside the top 10, but I mean, Scotty Scheffler is number 1 in my model because, look, he almost did it again out of nowhere Sunday afternoon. Everybody was talking about, is it going to be Victor? Is it going to be Brooksy? And then out of nowhere, I just see Scheffler moving right up the leaderboard, and all of a sudden he posts 6 under, and you're going,
I was going to say that round was for how that course was playing that day. That was impressive.
And speaking of courses, the Colonial is the longest, consecutive host for a PGA Tour event. Yes. And not to be lost, this is one of the other, not majors, but it's not a designated event, but it is one of the only other invitationals.
Yeah, so it's a style. You get that extra little rise out of it,
which is why we get some cool storylines out of this week. Like the reason that Michael Block is there is because one of their other exemptions backed out, one of the Cootie brothers. So in case you missed this, in case you missed my post on @thisbuds4you Instagram,
check them out every morning, guys. Get over there; they're fantastic.
It's Parker Cootie is brother of Pearson, grandchildren or grandsons of Charles Cootie, who won the 1971 Masters. Going into Sunday, he had the lead. Everybody just assumed that either Jack Nicklaus or Johnny Miller, one of the young whippersnapper, or the biggest freaking golfer on the planet, they were just going to chase him down. It's kind of like, that was a cute 54-hole lead you had there, blank. And he came through. Anyway, skip ahead a couple of generations, and his grandsons were both on exemptions. Pearson is still playing. Him and Cole Hammer are on they're on like the Champions Club invitation. The Colonial does this thing where the former champions get to basically vote on or agree on who they would want to send to. And that's kind of the point of these invitationals, as the regulations are a lot looser for who can get in and what kind of special exemptions. But they're tighter in the automatic, just you're a PGA Tour pro, this is a PGA Tour event. They're a little narrower in that regard. So Parker knew that he had this event coming up. He's a Texas guy. And out of nowhere, he decided to, stick with the Korn Ferry Tour event because he's chasing that one of those top 30 spots and trying to get full status on the PGA Tour. And I love his attitude of, well, if I do my job right, then I'll just punch my own ticket to this thing next year and every year after that. So
he's got the long-term look.
Yeah, of course you do. Your dad was a pro golfer. Grandfather was a major winner. Your brother's already, a BSD. In the golf world, so it feels like you're destined to do it, so you trust the process. But that's where Mr. Block was able to kind of slide right in, and apparently when the call came in, they just waited till Block dropped that last putt, and then all looked at each other like, what do you think? It's like, let's do it right now. So if you haven't seen the video of him getting the call, it's pretty cool.
The call was cool.
One of the 15 times that he cried, which I can identify with. I'm an emotional man myself. I'll cry if I need to. Just like I did when Annika Sorenstam. She's back for her 20-year reunion of playing in this event. First female to be on a PGA Tour event since Babe Zaharias back in the early 20th century. Made a handful of cuts as an amateur, by the way. But this is I'm shocked that we haven't seen more of this, given I would say the kind of not unified nature of golf, but the uniform nature of it, where like any human is going out and potentially can face the same course.
Yeah.
But I think when you get to the top tier levels, you do see that just the sheer length that the men play versus the female game, that's where you have that line of demarcation, which is why I think it's fun when they do these team events like we're going to see, coming up again this fall.
Yeah. No,
there's your crash course on colonial history.
But it's great because we are, like you said, we're back down in Texas, and this is an interesting course here because it's going to play different than the last few courses we've seen, but just as difficult in the way it's set up, in that this is a course where guys are going to have to pick their shots a bit more. It's not going to be just a rip it, and just hit any wedge from the fairway or the rough end. Like they're going to have to play strategic here, which gets me to my 5 key stats here. Once again, we'll start off strokes gained approach, strokes gained putting. That's staying there all year, I've decided. So we'll skip right over that. But one thing I noticed here was that the same as, I forget which course it was a few weeks ago, but Colonial has one of the lowest driving accuracy rates, at least below average compared to the tour average throughout the season. So I want guys that can hit the fairway. So one of my key stats is fairways gained this week. I could go fairways gained off the tee. You could go a few different ways. I'm choosing to go fairways gained, though, because I want guys who are able to put themselves on the short grass so they can play their more strategic next shot. And then par 4 is 400 to 450 and proximity 150 to 175, because that's what we're looking at. These guys are going to be having to play those mid irons, or those low irons in. Long irons. See, I confused myself. I got all messed up there.
That's good. That's what I'm here for. The only thing I contribute to this show is to your golf education.
Correct.
I like where you're coming from. The comparable courses that you see out there are Bay Hill, Sawgrass, those target golf courses, so to speak. Like you said, can't be a grip it and rip it type of thing. It's 7,200 yards, par 70. The par 5s, once again, are not like super duper true opportunities. You're just going to get a bunch of beefy par 4s, which is why strokes gained approach is a perfect fit for this. It always is the kind of best singular one. But I throw in strokes gained. Good Lord, Junior. Strokes gained par 4s in general. Like how good is your game to do the 1-2 dance? And a par 4 in golf is probably the purest test. Par 3s, you can get lucky on, and there's some long ass par 3s in the horrible horseshoe 3, 4, and 5. This golf course, unlike a lot of other golf courses that have a finishing kind of the bear trap, the snake pit, the stadium finish, like those 3-hole stretches, this one is early, which I kind of like. It's going to test your resolve. Can you get hit in the mouth and then still have 15 holes left to get it done? And it's 2 monster par 4s sandwiched in between 250 yard or 247, whatever, which means they can plus or minus it, by a club or two. So that 250 yard par 3. So it's going to be
wild.
It's going to be a ball striker's day. So I've got par 4s, strokes gained par 4, strokes gained approach, and then opportunities gained. Because to me, it's not just about getting in position. It's going to be about converting. This isn't necessarily a pushover for a course, but I don't think we're going to see the humility, so to speak, that we saw.
We're not going to see the 5 over cut line. It's going to be a little bit closer to even this week.
Although we got to get back. We got to start watching those cut lines a little closer. That's some of the most fun right there.
I was watching it this week. That cut line dropping back to 5 over was a difference between me having a 5 of 6 and a 3 of 6 lineup. So
did you like? I loved seeing them play through the rain, and I loved seeing the guys flip the hats backwards, to keep the rain going down their shirt, like all that kind of stuff.
It didn't change it for me as a viewer.
It enhanced it for me because I like playing once in a while in those conditions. Not every time you go out. That looks fucking miserable if that was the status quo.
I hate it.
But especially for a major championship, I'd like to see a day where you get hella wind or deluge coming down, but just enough, and they're squeegeeing off the green so they can just get these guys going. I enjoy that. I think that adds to it. 3 or 4 days of it, I don't think it's too much fun. It's kind of like watching an NFL game where if you get nothing but sloppy conditions the whole way through, it's going to neutralize the separating factor, who's really the better team, because it's really hard to play good in those conditions to begin with. So
Sure.
seeing it once was fun. And being out in Texas, I know we're going to need to look at guys who can roll the rock. I got a buddy who swears by certain players in Texas because the wind factor. Before he jumped guys like Mark Leishman or, any of the Texas players. So I don't know if it's worth taking a look at them this week. I think with this golf course being as traditional as it is, you could look for a Texan like Jordan Spieth or Scotty Scheffler, who's familiar with it and probably grew up playing this thing. But in general, I'm going to let the numbers do the work because they have been treating me okay so far these last few weeks. Without further ado, let's start talking about some of these players that you do or don't feel great about, starting in that 10K and above range.
So what I want to do first, actually, is I want to quickly run down my top 10 for everyone here. Write it down if you want to, and then we'll get into the specific price ranges. And I'm doing that because my top 10, actually 5 of them are under 8,000 on DK this week. So we got a nice mix of value in here with top end. So like I said before, number 1 in my model was Victor Hovland, coming in around expected roughly 16% ownership at 10.6, which I think I'm going to be all right playing him for a little bit there. Scotty Scheffler coming in at number 2 at 11.5 at almost 22 projected ownership. I can't bring myself to this. Once again, we're in a situation where Scotty has to win for that to be worth it. He definitely could. His game's good enough. He's a Texan. Like, I get it. But I'm not. I think there's enough could happen here where he's not necessarily going to win in my eyes. So he's number 2 in my model. Christian Bezuidenhout. Whatever. We never get it right. Ranks number 3 in my model, 7,700 or roughly 16% ownership as well. And then the other Texan, Jordan Spieth, 9,900, 18 roughly projected ownership. But then we get into some interesting names down here. We get Ben Martin at 6,800, around 11% ownership. Ben Martin's a guy who's come through for me before this year, who I've played a little bit of. He's got a decent history here as well. So Ben Martin is a guy that I like. Tommy Fleetwood, 9,200. Tommy Fleetwood's coming in around like 20% ownership, though. That's might be too much for me to have confidence in Tommy Fleetwood this week, but he's been playing great, so I might need to change that. He very quietly finished T18 this past week at the PGA, so good for him. And then my main man that I've been playing all year into last year, 7,300 at under 5% projected ownership, ranking number 7th in my model, 24 out of 29 cuts made, Adam Svensson again.
You love him.
Look, the math, the model just makes me fall in love with him every week. So Adam Svensson's there. Colin Morikawa coming in at 8th in my model. I'm feeling a little burnt by Morikawa after this last week. I know he still finished T26, but I had higher hopes for him. At 10.4, 16% ownership, I think I might pivot to some other guys in that price range. Scott Piercy at 6,400 ranks 9th, under 3% projected ownership. And then Sepp Straka at 7,000, number 10. Sepp Straka is looking fantastic right now.
Sepp Straka is a sexy looking pick, and not just because he's a Georgia Bulldog. And I'll rip through my top 10 real quick, and then we'll get into that 10K and above range, because I agree with you there that there's it's kind of an eye raising 10-4 ask for Colin Morikawa. But as I alluded to earlier, my model spit out the chalk up top and has Scotty Scheffler ranking out first in my model, and Tony Finau ranking second. Little bit of a pivot and a drop down with Siwoo Kim at 3rd, Victor Hovland at 4th. So right there, my top 4 are pretty chalky. But then Ricky Fowler, all of a sudden, the math tells me that he's worth a look at 8,900. He's always a chalky pick, as is. There's going to be a lot of people who like him. And then right there in 6th, Colin Morikawa. Tied with him, though, it's tied. It literally, both of them rank out 6 in the model. I don't know how the hell that worked out.
Yeah, that is weird.
Because I'm a simple guy and I only use three factors. But is Ben Martin, your aforementioned Ben Martin at 6,800. So anybody who my numbers tell me is that kind of valuable for the bang for your buck. Whoever's bringing the bang that hard is getting my attention, which is why we're friends.
Ben Martin finished T10 at the Valero, which was, I believe that was the last Texas event, right?
Yeah. Valero,
Yeah,
Texas Open.
So he finished T10 there. No, so some good blood in Texas. Sorry, continue.
Max Homa at 8, Tom Hoagie at 9, and Jordan Spieth 9,900 at 10. Even if that is what's Jordan Spieth looking at? What's his projected ownership? 17. I still think if you're going to take a Texan, save a couple $100 and go with Jordan Spieth over Scotty Scheffler. I agree with you. You have to be picking him to win this week, and I think that would actually be a more realistic value, return on your investment than looking to have him play a role with as much other opportunities in this. It's a limited field. It's only 120 players, but still.
Yep.
I don't think I'm touching that with your money. As a matter of fact, I don't really have anybody in this 10K range highlighted as much as they all pop up in my own personal 10K. I might take a look at Victor, like you said before. And that's actually why it caught my mind, is because he is playing that well. But the other one is Max Homa. I want to see him do something really outside of Texas or outside of California.
I know he's getting real inconsistent as of late. And it's becoming a little annoying considering how much I like Max Homa.
I agree. But there's back to the Scotty Scheffler thing real quick. The only reason that I may, get a wild hair in my ass and play him and then force myself to just dig around in the 6 and 7K range, because there's enough down there. There's enough value plays. My boy Akshay's in the field. Whenever Akshay's in the field, that's forced value for me because I'm going to play that kid until he breaks through and wins, and because I think it's going to be coming. But here, listen to these results from Scotty Scheffler going back to basically, I would say, to a missed cut, but that would be all the way to August of last year. Yeah. But just to a 45th place finish in October. Since then, he's finished 3rd at the Worldwide Technology, 9th at the Houston Open, 7th out in Hawaii, 11th at the American Express. He won Phoenix, 12th at Genesis, 4th at Arnie's Place. He won the Players, 10th at the Masters, 11th at the RBC, 5th at the Byron Nelson, and then a runner-up finish last week. So
when he plays, he's pretty much a lock for a top 15.
It's crazy. I mean, that would be a pretty good bet to be eyeing right there.
Very interesting question here from Chuck over at This Guy Sucks podcast, which I'm not going to lie, I'm not sure I 100% understand this question. But are you worried about the election recount in Arizona affecting the players?
Not at all. I think that the election officials are going to get this one right. And, whoever wins, we just trust the process and, take them one day at a time. Coach always says, if you show up early, then you're on time. If you're on time, you're late,
There we go. Thanks for picking up the slack there for me, because I was a little lost on that one. Appreciate it. But let's get into the price ranges that we've alluded to, because we want to make sure we get you, as always, as many names to write down and play this week as possible. And you alluded to it, the 10,000 and above range doesn't necessarily I don't feel the need necessarily to spend the money, because I feel like there is a ton of value. It feels like a week I'm going to leave a lot of money on the table, and I'm going to be all right with that. So we're good there. And then we said we both like Jordan Spieth at that 9,900 mark. Anybody else in the 9K? Really, I said Fleetwood. You said Kim. Is there anyone else in that 9K range that you would consider playing? The closest one to me would be Justin Rose, but at his ownership of 19% and how it ranks out in my model, I'm not confident enough to play him with that little leverage.
Correct. Justin Rose, that's the reason why, because he's 20th in my model. But I mean, Siwoo Kim at 9,000, he ranks out 3rd in my model. And I said at the beginning of the season, I'm going to be more of an M and a Kim guy when they spit it back out at me. And Sungjae's sitting there at 9,500 and 15th in my model. So the M and Kim brothers, although they're not brothers, it's just the M and Kim show in my brain. God, there we go. I'm trying to get us canceled already. That's who I like in that 9K range, because from the gut side of things, they also just seem to be names that, again, if the numbers show you to go after them, play them a little bit. Sammy Burns, stay away from Sam Burns. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing when I saw where was his price?
He's 9,700. 9,700 Sam Burns after the performance that he's been putting out there recently. That was
exactly how I felt. I felt there's no, he was at the bottom of the leaderboard base. He was all the way down there.
I don't disagree with Tommy Fleetwood. He does well. He always seems to be one of those names that pops up at the Players, at Bay Hill. He's an iron. He's an English Morikawa, where he's known for his ball striking with those mid to long irons. So that's why I think that you see him right there. But
he finished T35 here last year too, so that might have a lot to do with his almost 20% ownership.
In the 9K range, I think you can't go wrong with Sungjae M or Siwoo Kim.
Fair enough. Let's hit that 8K range because there's honestly not a ton of guys even in the 8K range. It's a small range as far as just quantity of guys, and there's not a lot of eye-popping guys this week for me. We mentioned Ricky Fowler at 8,900, so I'm cool with that. But really, other than that, the only other guy that pops in my model would be Denny McCarthy. He ranks out 11th in my model, 8,700, around 12% ownership. Once again, he's quietly on a nice little run here. He hasn't finished outside the top 30 in his last 5 tournaments. At minimum, he's finished T27 here last year. So Denny McCarthy had a hot putter recently. He ranks top 10 in putts. So that's a guy that I like for that price at that projected ownership. 21 out of 27 cuts made this year. He's probably the only other guy that I'm really going to play in the 8K range. All my other plays are going to come from the 7 and 6, I feel like.
I'm all right with that. Denny McCarthy never makes my socks roll up and down. Ricky Fowler at 15%, 8,900. My model has him 5th, and so he'll get some looks. He's definitely going to be somebody who goes in and out, before I submit, if I submit, as long as I do my homework this week. But Tom Hoge is 9th in my model. He's not been great since the 3rd place at the Players. But at 8,500 and 5%, there's nobody else. If the math needs me to go in this 8K range, which how often do you get down? You got 2 picks left, and you're all right. What do I got to average out on these? 82, 8,700, somewhere in there. That's when he might come back to my radar. But I don't think really Russell Henley is the only other one that jumps out to me in that 8K range. I've got Russell and Tom kind of highlighted. Minwoo Lee, fun fact. He's got special temporary status on the PGA Tour for the rest of the year.
I saw that. Yep, I did see that.
Come on down, Minwoo. I think we're happy to have you. And I actually, just because of his little pencil thin mustache and his swagger with those Oakley glasses that are just not going to die, he might be a good novelty play. And then Steven Jaeger or Jagger, whatever. He's been pretty consistent recently. So 8,100, I think it's worth a look. Let me see, what is he in my model?
We played him at first. I played him at the Byron. He gave me a T11, so I was quite happy with the return I got out of him.
50th at PGA, so he made the cut there. Wells Fargo 27th at Mexico Open.
He's made 4 straight cuts. Yeah.
So Steven Jaeger, I'm going to go ahead and I didn't have him marked until we were just scrolling down to make sure I wasn't skipping over anybody like Steven Jaeger.
I don't mind that. My only thing against Tom Hoge, really, other than the fact that I do agree he's not been playing great lately, he's missed the cut 3 straight years here.
Tomato.
Well, but I think he also was playing better coming into this tournament in past years than he is right now. Like, this is, I don't know. I have no confidence in Hoge at the moment.
Neither does anybody else besides my dumbass, because he's only
that's okay. Dare to be different. I love it. Dropping into the 7K range, we already mentioned Christian Bezuidenhout, whatever you want to say. 7,700. We already mentioned him. The other guys, Adam Svensson as well, mentioned him. Hayden Buckley, though, is another guy who's going to pop out of the 7K range for me this week. T26 at the PGA. He did miss the cut here last year, but he's made 4 straight cuts this year so far, around 12% ownership. So I like him. And then I'm going to go back to what is turning into a season favorite on the year. Nick Taylor, 7,200 at 6.5% ownership, ranking out 20th in my model. He did miss the cut this past week, but he's made the cut 2 straight years here in the past, and he's been putting very well, and he does really good on these par 4s, 400 to 450 range. So I like me some Nick Taylor this week. And I already mentioned Sepp Straka too, also in the 7K range.
Yeah, I'll meet you with Sepp Straka, and I too have Mr. Hayden Buckley highlighted on my list. He's 14th in my model. really 11th in par fours and the fact that name just keeps coming up, and I keep knowing that it comes up, or I remember that it comes up because I keep on thinking of the Mr. Buckley. I keep asking you if you've seen The Time to Kill, and you're like, what was that movie? You still need to watch it. Eric Cole was sneaky good last week at the PGA, ranked 16th in my model.
He was.
It's hard to look at 11, 12, sometimes 13% when you're in the low 7K range, but you can almost outsmart yourself if the numbers are showing. Go with your gut. And then I'm shocked that a name that you have brought up several times pops in my model, especially when you get down to 7,100. But he's 18th in my model, and so you go and you look at it, and only 4 or 5% ownership. Mr. Joseph Bramlett.
I just saw him. I was about to say that. Yeah,
Joseph Bramlett, come on down. We got a seat for you here on the plane, right next to Adam Svensson, but that's going to be on his side of the flight, not mine.
Yeah,
I'm not a big Svensson guy. I like he's a cut maker, and I appreciate that. We have different perspectives when it comes to picking these things sometimes. Yeah,
my issue with Bramlett right now is that he's been wild off the tee. He ranks near the back of the field. He said this is a field of only like 120, 121 this week. He ranks 110th in this field. 110th in fairways gained this week, and that's an issue for me this week when you factor in that he's also around 100 in putting in the field. So Bramlett, this isn't the week that it necessarily does it for me. I feel like he needs a little bit more forgiveness in a course when it comes to getting off the tee right now.
Sounds like you need a little more forgiveness, but we won't go there.
I'm not here to forgive. Let's get into this. The 6K range is so juicy this week. I'm
gonna stop you right there. I got 2 names and I already said them both, and then I'm gonna pass the talking stick to Martin, because that's what he's 6th in my model.
Ring the bell. We'll both
ding,
on
ding,
that
ding. And then your boy AB Akshay Bhatia.
I knew it.
He's also 33rd in my model, so I don't feel bad spending 6,700 for him.
He's 13th in my model, so you get on some Akshay this week. I love that. You are definitely a bigger Akshay fan, but you've turned me on to Akshay.
He's a ball striker.
Yes, he is a ball striker. Another guy who I haven't that came out of nowhere. Haven't played in a while, but I liked what he did this past week. And I've liked what he's done here in the past, specifically last year, finished in T27 here. Ches Reavie. It's been a solid year plus since I've played him. 6,900. Like, I'm not thrilled about it, but he might be someone I take a chance on. Like, I'd rather play him than some of these other guys in the 7 or 8K range as far as taking a chance, because I view a lot of them as just as risky. But Ches Reavie is someone I'll have a little bit of exposure to this week. You already said Akshay. Michael Kim is another guy.
I skipped over one. Shit.
Who else? Who hit me?
David Lipsky, living on Lipsky.
Oh, you're a Lipsky guy. Yeah, you're a Lipsky
6,200. He's 12th in opportunities gained. Which means when he's in position, he converts, and he's 16th in approach. So those two things, I see the point that also not having off the tee somewhere in here can skew these results, because as you mentioned, this is a narrow course. It's a parkland wood-lined, tree-lined course. So, but David Lipsky, just because you said it, when you're down there, you can kind of spend a little money in, because if he's hot, he's going to play well, but it's a make it or miss it kind of bet with him.
No, that makes sense.
He's not winning.
And before we're out of time here, I'm going to give you one more shot in the dark horse.
Give it to me.
That's always
give
fun.
It to me.
Because we're looking at 6,100. We're looking at less than 1% projected ownership, but we're also looking at 11 out of 19 cuts made. A guy who is 11th in this field from 150 to 175, and 8th in the field. I'm sorry, that's 6th. I couldn't read it for a second. 6th in the field in fairways gained. Zach Blair finished T10 at the Valspar, the other Texas tournament we've seen so far. He finished T47 at Wells Fargo was the last one he played.
Yeah.
Finished T55 here 2 years ago. So if you want to play some of those expensive guys up top and you need someone at around the $6,100 range, Zach Blair is a better shot than most down here. So
I agree. And while you're down there, if you need a 6,100 kind of filler, Cole Hammer, just for a good story. He was an All-American at Texas. He is a Texas kid. He's going to be one of those local familiar guys. He's only at 0.1% ownership because nobody's given him a shot. But these young golfers are breaking through a little quicker than they have before. And once you know how to win, then you can ride that wave all the way to the winner's circle.
Nice. I like it. All the way to the winner's circle. That's what we're hoping our picks help you get to this week. That's what we're hoping we get to this week, because that is going to do it for us here on the Divots and Pivots show for this Tuesday night. But stick around at 10 o'clock. Every time I say a time, they come on at a different time, so I apologize, but I'm pretty sure tonight it's 10 o'clock is the guys over at Plus Money Golf getting you all your outrights, your top 10s, your top 20s, all your prop bets. They're going to have you covered for this week, and I'm sure they're going to be talking some PGA Championship stories as well, because how can you not if you're a golf show this week? Once again, I am Andrew LeDuc, a.k.a. Mr. Mallard. Bud Copeland next to me over here. Catch him at this BuzzView. And like he said before, get over on his Instagram, same handle. Check out his stories every morning on Instagram, on Facebook. Just find the man. They are a great way to start your morning. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us as always. Love you. Have a good one.